Hey folks, got a couple videos to post. I haven't taken the time to do it lately, but figured I'd make this one. I haven't done one in a while. So here's the back of the Charger now that I got my vinyl stripe applied. I did not do it myself. The guy who painted the car for me did it because I would have just messed that up. But it came out pretty good. It's a matte black, which is really awesome. Really contrasts the car quite well. I think it looks pretty good. Sets it off. It was a pain in the butt to do that stripe. It was pretty difficult. It's not. I had a little battery alert there. It's not perfect, but it's pretty close. If you're a casual looker, you know, you don't own the car, you're not studying up, you won't notice. But I had a big problem right here, and he had to peel it back, and it was all messed up. But he got it to lay down pretty well. It didn't. Man. He told me he'd rather put a vinyl Firebird on a Pontiac hood than do all the measurements for this stripe. And he wasn't joking. It took about 2.5 hours for him to do it. I just helped him, held stuff for him, and handed it to him. But it looks good. I really like the back of this car. The TTI exhaust tips, I think they're killer. They make the car. So, yeah, I've been driving this now for a few months, and try not to fall over all my stuff in my dirty garage here. I haven't encountered really any problems. It's worked great so far. I did get my wheel bearing adjusted. I think I talked about that. Look at that too. Center caps. Got those put on. I've left them off for years and years and years because taking the wheel on and off all the time, the edge of the center cap gets in the way of the socket. So instead of damaging it, I just leave them off. But I actually went to a car show with my dad, and he brought his 2017 Scat Pack car. I might try to cut a photo in if I can remember how to do it. Yeah, it was pretty cool. It wasn't a big car show, just like a small local one. There was maybe 30 to 50 cars there. I don't know. I didn't really go around and look too much. But this was definitely the only car that got a crowd response when I started it up and left. It was pretty cool. It's definitely pretty distinctive. Not many of these around, especially with driving the streets with this type of engine. So all the carb stuff I did seems to have come around good. I don't know if I posted. There's a video I made that I didn't bother posting because I don't know. It was just wasn't that good. I think I had a couple beers and I was just rambling on it, I'm sure. But oh, that's too much light there. Here's updated carburetor specs, if you guys can see that. Not just carburetors, timing in there too. The primary power valve number has changed. I think I explained that, how I did that at some point in one of my videos. By watching, we're gonna divert into technical talk now. By watching the vacuum at which the carburetor starts to go lean, you can determine when to add or when to what measurement of power valve you can put in. Like this would start to go lean at about 10 inches of vacuum. It would start getting leaner. So I put a 9.5 power valve in there, and it works pretty seamlessly to cover up the lean spot and then before the secondary is open. because you reach a point. I think I talked about all this, but you reach a point where your main jets can't flow any more fuel, and then the car will start to go lean, but it's demanding more air, you know. So you got to strike the balance between what main jet flows correctly for cruise, and you get the right AFR. To then when you come into power, you need to richen the circuit. That's basically what I'm talking about. So I stagger my main jet or my power valve 9.5 and 5.5, so it doesn't get a heavy rich spot. You know, I think some people do carbs squarely. I prefer to stagger them. I actually, I don't know if I told you guys this. I did stagger jet this, so the primary barrel on the passenger side is actually one jet down. It's a 77 instead of a 78, because in the dual plane, this guy feeds, what's that one? 3 and 2, I believe. So those were a little bit rich compared to the other ones. So I leaned that out a hair, and it definitely seems to have cleaned it up on the highway a little bit. So you got to remember that the primary barrel does feed the others too, but it's just closer to the fronts. I don't know why on these videos I always, when I start to talk, I get like a hiccup all the time. It's you know, I apologize, but so yeah, so that's what I did. I stagger jetted that. So I think I've come to the impasse now where I'm actually going to go to fuel injection on this, probably in the springtime. So you guys can look forward to that. That should be a debacle. I've already thought it out pretty well in my head, I think, and looked at the directions 100 times online, because you know, it's different how you wire it for all the shit you got. You can use it to control your timing and shit. I think I'm gonna go with a Holley X-Flow. I don't think I'm gonna use it to control the timing, maybe down the road, but see, the problem I have run into now is at below 60 degrees, when you get into the 50s and lower, this thing is really hard to start, and you end up fouling the plugs, and it's just a pain in the ass. It backfires and stuff because it's so cold, because it doesn't have a choke. Simply, it just doesn't have a choke. And the problem really is you can't get a carburetor that's really high performance enough, that I found, that has a choke. So, and if you do find one with a choke, like if you get an 850 Classic Holley or whatever, like you can't get a carb over 850 with a choke that I've seen. And they're not adjustable. They don't have the adjustable air bleeds. I'd have to drill and tap everything again. And then the other fact that they're $750 for just that classic carb. That's crazy. For like $1,400, I can get fuel injection. So just starting it in the cold. And then there's the other factor that I would like to try to make this engine a little sharper below where the converter bites in. City driving a big truck by. I think fuel injection might help that, because it is a little bit soggy, which is annoying until you get your foot into it. Then it's good, but I think a little bit smaller throttle body, because this is 1,000. I think the 900 on the X-Flow might tighten that up a little, along with the computer metered fuel application. Will help it sharpen the bottom end for me, and that'd be interesting. You know, I can't complain about this carb setup in this car now. For what it is, the carb is super well adapted and tuned. Just the two factors of the soft bottom end and the cold starting. I'd like to be able to extend my driving of the car a little bit, you know, like, because once it cools off, you know, maybe in the afternoon it warms up enough to start it, but the engine's still like a solid ice cube, you know, from sitting overnight. And if it gets down in the 40s, you know, because this car is comfortable to drive with no heater if it's 50 degrees out. You know, the floor and stuff is so warm from the transmission and the engine that you're not freezing in there, and it doesn't fog up or nothing. So, yeah, next year maybe we'll look forward to that. save up some money to get that damn expensive Holley stuff. But yeah, I can't complain about this carb. I mean, it works great for the application it is, but who doesn't want it to be better, right? Other than that, I don't really have anything to really talk about with the car so much. I did have a leaf spring clamp loosen up on me because the rubber fell out of it, or whatever the hell that shit is. There's I don't know if you can see it under here. I heard this driving around. This wrappy clamp, there's usually a piece of rubber in there, and somewhere along the way it worked its way out, so that's got to be dealt with somewhat because it's annoying to listen to. But other than that, this thing drives around great. It's awesome. The power brakes are great. There's one light on the highway that gets me every time I have to get on it. It's like tricks you thinking you can just cruise up to it, but so other than that, it's good. Doesn't handle so hot with these skinny front tires on it and the drag racing suspension setup, but it's basically just meant to go straight anyway. So, but yeah, I'll try to post this in the other video. I gotta try to remember how to edit in the pictures and stuff. If I do, I'll shoot a picture of my spark plugs, I think, maybe, and then I'll shoot that picture into the car show if I can. I gotta charge my phone too, though. So, one added note, a dude messaged me and asked me if I could help him out with some measurements in the rear underneath and the cross member and stuff. But if you guys want me to do something like that, I'm fine with it. If I can, I'll try to help you out. But you got to try to be really specific, and I guess try to name the exact parts, because it's just so hard for me to understand exactly what you need. If I can measure something, I got to know exactly your beginning and end, where it's got to go. Maybe you know what I mean? It's not easy to figure out what people are referencing sometimes. You got to think that, you know what you're talking about, the other person might not. So think of that if you want me to try to measure something for you. Take it easy, guys. Later. Stagger jetting's an acceptable fashion too. You can't go too far with it though, because